Hello, Revere, and welcome to another show. Today I have a great guest. He's been on the school committee, one of the longest serving members of the school committee. His name is Michael Ferrante. And Mr. Ferrante, thank you for coming on the show.
My pleasure.
Before we start, we talked about things before we went on the air, but tell us a little about yourself.
Well, I'm a lifelong resident of Revere, born and brought up here. I have a business in Revere. I've been doing taxes for 30 plus years. I own a house in Revere. My wife, she works for the school department. I have 2 kids that just recently graduated college, which is really nice, and everything else is good right now.
What did they take in college?
Oh, my son went to law school. He finished law school, and my daughter studied environmental science.
Right.
So it's great they both graduated, and wish the best for both of them.
And what do you do after school committee? Do you have something, another job or something else?
Well, I mean, it's my business. You know, I have a business that I prepare taxes. I'm an accountant. So that's my primary job, and the school committee's secondary job.
Oh,
so I'm always busy.
So the IRS really likes you.
Oh, yeah, they love me. We're always fighting with them.
Right. A lot of things come up. Exactly what is the function of the school committee?
It's basically what we do is set the policy for the school department. I mean, we hire people, the school committee, but it's very few. It's just to make sure that everything stays, in line.
Excuse me, every teacher that's hired in the high school or elementary school, they all come through the school committee?
No, they get hired by the superintendent.
Oh.
And the assistant superintendent. So we don't really hire. The only people we really hire is the superintendent of schools.
Like Mrs. Kelly?
Like the superintendent. We hire Dougie Goodwin's position. And then nurses, there are nurses on the school department side we hire, but some work on the school department side and some work on the city side.
Oh, I see.
So we really don't, and those are basically the people we hire. People think we hire everybody, we really don't. We only hire those 3 positions.
Here's a question I was asked to ask you, if I may. Some of the towns have free lunches for kids. Right. Does Revere have the same thing?
Yeah, we have free and reduced lunches.
Is that for high school kids as well?
Yeah, it's substantial. The number's way up there. It's in the 70s, citywide. People on free and reduced lunches. So it's a big number. It's a real big number.
Is that compulsory, if I may ask, the lunches, or is just that voluntary?
It's all need. It's all based on need. Whether people have income or not, and if they qualify. Going through the process.
Oh, I see. Very good. Very good. I'd like to talk to you about something that's on the computer here. I always get this. Ask him about the new high school. Since you're on the school committee, what's going on with it?
Well, right now, we applied for the application to build a new high school. We should probably know by the end of the year, and we'll know how much funding we get. Right now, our biggest problem, besides the funding, will be where we're going to put it. We don't have a lot of spots right now to do it, but that's the thing. So we're waiting to see the funding, so see where we're going to go. So,
Michael, let me just ask you this. Since you don't have a lot of spot where to put it, and of course, while you're building the new high school, the kids still got to stay in the old school.
Yeah, the best bet is that we get it off the grounds and don't put it behind the school where the field is right now.
Couldn't you just make additions onto the existing school, or would that be impossible?
That's very unlikely. It's very, very unlikely, because they'll never be able to support it, the weight of putting an addition onto the school. The school needs a lot more than that.
I don't mean an addition on top of the school, maybe an addition on the ground level.
Yeah, you would need a major addition. I don't think you have the land, because you got to remember, you still have to park the cars.
Oh, that's right.
So parking's a problem, and I really don't think that would work right now.
Well, if you start constructing the new high school, wouldn't you still have the same problem with the kids coming in, the construction workers there, the parking?
Well, it depends where it is. I mean, if it's on the grounds, it'll be a major problem. If we get it off the grounds, then it won't be a problem. It's all really predicated on numbers, how we do with funding, and where we're going to put it. And that's going to be a problem. It's going to be a real problem.
And have they determined approximately what the cost of the new high school would be and what the state or the federal government would allow?
Well, right now, we don't know what we're getting for funding. We'll know by the end of the year. The cost, it will be exorbitant. I think the cost is going to be between $250 and $300 million.
That's what I heard, yeah, about approximately.
And maybe even more by the time we get the thing started.
And how much does the state or the federal government allow?
Well, some of the schools we got 90%, some we got 80%. It just depends. I'm not sure what we're going to get. That's what we're really waiting for to see.
So that should be here by the end of the year?
Yeah, hopefully. So.
Right. I'd like to speak to you. This comes up a lot because people ask me, but I can't answer them, so I wait for you to come on the school committee. There are three types of schools, or maybe there are more. There's a public, private, and charter.
Right.
Could you explain the difference to us between them?
Well, the public schools are basically run by the DOE, Department of Education,
Can anybody go to a public school?
as long as they live in the city.
Or they have to
They
live
have to have a residence in the city to go.
I don't know. That means if I live in Winthrop or Revere and I want to go to Revere
You're
Elementary,
really not supposed to. You're supposed to live, it's where you live is where you're supposed to go. Now, people say, yeah, there are some other people that transport in, but there's homeless people, and there's a whole bunch of other processes. I would say that our school system, probably 95% that's in the city. The population is becoming a real problem for us. The schools are sort of shrinking because of so many kids in the system. There's not a lot, unfortunately, we can do about it. I mean, if you live here, you can go here. It's simple. The Catholic schools, they're to a point where it fits some people it doesn't. It's, you know, it depends what the parents are looking for. Unfortunately, right now, the cost of the Catholic schools, the high schools are through the roof. The money's very high.
okay, and the charter, what is the charter exactly?
Well, the charter school has their own rules and regulations. They don't have any DOE regulations, whatever. They can do whatever they want.
They're
They
not
can pick whatever. No, they're not regulated at all. They can do whatever they want, whenever they want. They can charge whatever they want. There's nobody following their rules. And if the charter schools happen to pass in the city of Revere, because we vote on that every year, we would lose substantial funding from the state because they would take some of our funding. And right now, we're at a point in our budget, we can't afford to lose any money.
I don't want to be dumb, but I'm going to ask this question. To get onto the public school, you say the superintendent and the assistant superintendents do the teachers, hire the teachers, right? Which means they have to have either a master's degree or a pretty good education.
Well, they gotta have a bachelor's degree at least.
The charter school, are they like checked by the state? They can hire anybody they want?
Absolutely.
Even if they only got a bachelor's?
They can hire whatever they want because they're on a whole different set of rules than we are. So it's really not advantageous for us to have it. So at least we have rules we have to follow. The DOE gives you the standards. Here's what you have to do. And that's what we do. We follow by what they tell us to do. It's regulated. Some people like the charter schools, some don't. Not good for us.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, Mike, bring up something else you'd like to discuss.
I think that I'd like to really talk about a little bit about the traffic. And I know it doesn't really affect what we do.
It does, because you have kids that drive to school.
Right. Well, the problem right now is that Revere's a cut-through. Broadway, Washington Ave, North Shore Road.
Right. Elliott Road, too, by the way.
They're all cut-throughs. So now all the people that come from there just backs up the traffic more. There's too many cars and too many people. So constantly, when you have too many people, you're going to have more kids in the system. Now, when I went to school, we had about 17, 18 schools. Now we have 11. And we got a lot more kids now. So our population's been increasing every year, a couple, 300 kids. And it's becoming a real problem because our classroom sizes are high 20s, low 30s. And that's a lot of kids for teachers to teach.
I was going to ask you that, but I'm glad you mentioned it.
It's a lot, you know, especially the elementary. It's a real problem right now. And unfortunately, there's nothing we can do. The construction is just booming everywhere. You know, we're building everywhere. It's, you know, it's good, I guess, for the builders, but it's just more and more people, and it's just hard to get around right now, and it's a problem. It really is. And there's really nobody that's going to be able to resolve it, but that's a major issue I see in the city right now.
You know, you mentioned something about the schools and the traffic. I had a gentleman up here who was on the show, and he mentioned the Wonderland dog track. Would that land be sufficient to hold the new high school?
It would be. It would be.
The parking as well?
Yeah, because right now we need about 10 acres to build a school on, and they got 30-plus acres.
Wonderland?
So, yeah, Wonderland. But Wonderland's privately owned. So you would have to go to the owner of the land, and the owner of the property, and say, can we use 10 acres? They're going to charge you for it, but that would be an ideal situation for us. Because at that point, now it's off the grounds. We can take the high school, make it a centralized middle school, And then all the middle school students we have, those spaces open up so we can redistrict and shorten the classroom sizes, hopefully. So there is a little bit of a plan out there, and we just have to wait and see what happens with it.
Mike, I like to compare when I went to school and what the schools are like today. Starting, let's say, with the high school. Could you give us a little what the curriculum is there now?
Well, right now we're on a block schedule where they have like 4 classes a day to 85 minutes, and it's really high education intense. So they get more out of it. It's sort of set up like colleges now. You know, colleges, you know, class, you know, they're like an hour and a half classrooms.
Right.
So we're sort of set up that way. You know, it's up to the people whether they like it or not, but that's what it is. That's what we did, and that's, you know, what we did. So some people, like I said, like it, some don't. That's just the way it is. It's a different world today. The world's totally different.
Right. I don't want to speak for myself, but we did have one subject in the school system when I was young called civics. And I don't hear that too much today.
No, because the classrooms, because you're only there with 4 classes a day. So there's only so much time that you can dedicate to without getting the primary courses in there. Because there again, you're set up with a curriculum that you have to follow. And unfortunately, you've lost a lot of classes on it.
Don't
a lot
they
of
have,
electives.
like, let's say if a student is doing poor, do they not have after-school classes for him?
Yeah, I mean, there's always after-school time for, you know, for kids to go. And, you know, it's really up to the students and the parents, you know, to get the next necessary help, you know, to further their education.
Right, but since we have a gentleman that was here before you, he said there's about 175 different nationalities, languages, and things in the school. How does the school cope with all that?
That's a major problem. I'm not sure it's that many, but
regardless,
but you need translators. You need translators everywhere. You know, that's a problem. It's a problem for the teachers. It's a problem for the students. It's just a problem all around. And unfortunately, I believe that they should have to learn English to come here.
Michael, I have another question for you. The teachers in today's school, do they have to know more than one language to teach?
No, it's not mandatory, but it's very recommended. Because, you know, with the, obviously, you know, the population problem we have with everybody speaking different languages, but it's really recommended to do it, especially for the newer teachers, but it's not mandatory.
Because when I was a young man, the teachers that I had spoke English, French, and German, but it's not mandatory.
No.
Oh, okay. What is mandatory for a teacher? In other words, how high an education does he have to go, or does he still have to continue while he's still teaching, or she?
Yeah, I mean, they have to start with a bachelor's to get into the system. And
That's
then,
the minimum requirement?
minimum, yeah. You have to graduate. Yeah. And then you have to have a teaching certificate. And then there's always continuing ed that they take every year. So the more education they have, the more steps up they have, the more pay they make. But there's always education required, you know, workshops or whatever. So there is a lot to it. It's not just, you know, they're teaching 8 to 3 or 8 to 2, whatever the hours are. There's a lot of stuff that the teachers have to do that people really don't know about.
Right. Now, a lot of the teachers take their work at home to do the checking. Are they put on the payroll for that, or that's on their own time?
No, that's their own time. My wife's a teacher. She takes stuff home all the time because they don't have enough time in the day to do it.
I was wondering about that.
The paperwork's ungodly. It just, I never see anything like it. It's just, you know, paperwork. I mean, paperwork and more paperwork. They get paid for how many days it is. If it takes them 12 hours to go to a day or 8 hours, they get the same pay. There's no change in it at all.
So they're on a salary then?
So, yeah, absolutely. There's no extra, no overtime or anything. It's just a straight pay, everything.
See, a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, there's no
They
extra.
think because you have the 10 weeks off in the summer, but you really don't.
Well, it really is not even 10 weeks anymore. It's like 8 because we start early, you know, because unfortunately when you have the bad weather, you lose some days to that.
Right.
And then by the time the kids get out of school and we start up again, because we start the first week before Labor Day, so that the vacation's becoming 8, 9 weeks and not even 10.
Right. I'd like to ask you another question about this, which I see the kids going to school. And I like to compare myself to them when I was their age. We had to wear a shirt, we had to wear a tie, we had to be dressed neat. Today they come in any way they want to. Or is there no dress code for
Well, there's a dress code from ages, you know, grades 1 to 8. There's a dress code, and it's enforced by the school.
And what is that dress code?
Well, the dress code is they wear a shirt and pants. You know, they can pick, you know, 1 or 3 shirts, 1 or 3 pair of pants. They go buy them, and they're required to do it. The school committee does not set that policy. It's done by the school. So if the school says, to, like the high school said, we want to have a dress code, okay, as long as everybody on board, we'll pass it. And then here's the clothes they have to wear. So it's not a mandatory thing for the
Right.
high school.
Now, I'd like to ask you, talking about the high school, they have what they call there the ROTC.
Right.
Tell us a little about that, Mike, if you can.
Well, that program started, I think, a couple, 3 years ago, and it's really blossomed. You know, they're doing a great job. They do a lot of things that people really don't know about. You know, they do a lot of snow shoveling, you know, for the senior citizens, you know, where they can. And the program has blossomed since it started. You know, we had to hire an additional instructor this year because the program has more and more kids to it, and it's doing a good job. And, you know, it's not for everybody, but if it helps people, all the more so.
Right, who's the staff sergeant on that ROTC?
Volker, I think her name is.
And the major, what's the one who's in charge there?
I think her name is Major. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Well, they both do a great
Yeah,
job.
they do. They do a great job.
Right.
You know, they had more kids than they really needed to, but they just keep plugging away at it.
And can anybody join the ROTC?
Yeah, yeah, I believe you can. It's, you know, I don't know if there's a waiting list on it or not, but you just have to go through the process to do it.
Right. Now, a lot of the kids I know that graduate from Revere, some of them wind up at Tech, MIT, Harvard. It's a tough, I mean, the tests that they take, are they a lot tougher to, like the...
Well, you know, I mean, right now, you need to get grades. The grades are number one. And as I call, you have to build a resume. So if you have a good resume and you get grades, you have to go to schools where you can get in. We have a lot of kids that have gone to Ivy League schools. You know, a couple of years ago, you know, the valedictorian and the South Victoria both went to Princeton. So we have kids that do well. It's just that, you know, there's so much things, you know, bad things out there. They just don't realize the good stuff. You never hear about the good stuff. You only hear about the bad stuff.
Right, naturally. Now, this is something that's come up new. You know, I always like to compare apples with oranges. We used to use books. I notice a lot of the kids today, they don't carry books. They carry a computer with them. And they rely on the computer. But what happens when the juice or the battery...
That's a problem. I mean, they have to keep them charged. They're doing Chromebooks right now, which probably is a lot cheaper and probably more efficient to doing things because everything's done online today.
Right.
If you want to do a paper, you can just email it out instead of writing it out and, you know, whatever. So it's the efficient way of doing things, you know, way of doing business. And to carry those big, cumbersome books sort of breaks your back a little bit.
I have to tell you, there was a little young kid from high school when I was sitting at Stop and Shop, and he had a smartphone. And he was talking to the smartphone, and the smartphone was printing up exactly what he was saying.
Right.
You don't have to write anything anymore. You can talk to it, and it'll print it out for you.
Yeah, that's technology. The technology is incredible today. I remember when I first started doing papers, I had to do them on a typewriter.
Yeah, I remember that.
Like this,
Yeah.
if you made a mistake, you had to throw it up because you couldn't correct it.
Right.
The kids don't realize what they have today versus when we went to school, what we had.
I got to tell you, if I went to school today, I'd be an honor student, and I'll tell you why. My English was the worst subject that I had when I was a kid because my parents didn't speak too much English at home, much of it anyway in there. I know when I do typing on the computer right here, and I make a mistake, the computer redlines it for me
Right.
until I get it right. So when I do something, it's perfect.
Right. That's just the way technology is today. I have the same thing. I make a mistake, it tells you to correct it. They have spell check, so if you're not showing a word, spell check, they'll check it all. It's just the way of the world today. You know, it's tough for other people to understand that, but that's just the way it is.
You know, senior citizens are afraid of this. When the first technology came out, they wouldn't even go near this. Today, you can't live without it.
You have to have it. I mean, I have a smartphone. I use it all the time. I mean, I could actually go in my car and just send an email to you right from my phone.
Right.
As long as I have your email, I can send it out. So the technology in this world is a lot more advanced than it was many, many years ago.
And I think it's going to, I don't see things coming up in the future, but I'm sure they'll find something that's more advanced. Of course, they'll improve on these things. That's no offense.
Well, I mean, Apple just came out with the new iPhone 8. They came out with which,
Well, what is so new on the iPhone 8?
well, the iPhone 8, I don't know what the apps are, but I'm sure there's more apps, you know, because they just keep increasing technology. I mean, computers today, after a couple, 3 years, they're almost obsolete. You have to get a new one because they're faster and they're quicker and they have more storage and whatever. So it's just the way the world is. I mean, I know I've said it a couple times, but the technology is phenomenal today.
My well, I won't say my little granddaughter, not my great-granddaughter, my granddaughter, used to come over and ask me math questions, and I would have a tough time working them out for her. Now, she doesn't have to ask me anymore. You know who she asks? The Google thing. And she gets the...
Yeah, it's just phenomenal what it can do, and if you're pretty computer literate, you know, literate doing it, you can get a lot. I mean, you can Google anything and anything in the world. And that's, you know, that's just the way it is today. I mean, it's unbelievable how far we've come in this world. I mean, hopefully it's for the better in the long run.
No, it's good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
If you want to learn a language, it even tells you, like, how do you say this in French? How do you say this in German?
Yeah, it does. It's incredible. It really is. You got to love it.
I do. But let me, then, they still have the library in Revere, right?
Yeah.
And they still have books.
Yeah, they do. I mean, you know, sometimes you need a book for a reference.
Right.
You know, do a paper or whatever. So you have to have a library. I mean, we have one in the high school. You know, we have one, you know, in all the schools. So you need a reference, you can go, you know, still look it up. I'm sure a lot of them don't want to do it that way, but it's there.
You know what they used when I was a young boy? The Britannica. I'm sure that they still use that today?
I'm not really sure. I haven't been to the library in a while.
Oh,
I
okay.
haven't been there in a while. I'm sure that they still have a lot of stuff they used many, many years ago.
And they do have a library in the school itself?
In the high school, we have one.
Yeah. That's pretty good. Okay. I like to talk about the military. I always like to talk about, can you tell us if you had any members of your family?
Yeah, the only one was my father. He was in the Navy in World War II. My nephew he was in the Navy for about a year and a half, and then he chose not to re-enlist. And that's about it. I mean, I have to, my son, so none of us have really been in the service at all. He told me some stories, my father.
Did he?
You know, when he was in the service, and, you know.
I have to tell you, the service is great for young people to go in. I wish they had a compulsory draft here in this country for maybe 1 year. And it's good. It's discipline, and it teaches you how to be patriotic, where you wouldn't see things like you see today. By the way, talking about today, when they do the national anthem or the Pledge of Allegiance, they still do that in the schools, right?
Yes.
And they're going to keep it in the schools.
I hope so, yeah.
Okay.
I hope so. Things change so fast, sometimes
I
you're
know
not
that
top it.
because now down south they're taking away monuments from General Grant and General Lee.
Well, there's just so much controversy out there right now.
Oh, man. Okay.
You just have to deal with it, that's all.
Okay. Let's see what, oh, by the way, I heard from the one who brought me about a company called Amazon that's going to be coming in here.
Yeah. There's a possibility. We're going to put a proposal to, well, not me, but the city will put a proposal with Boston and see if they can get them come here to Suffolk Downs. There's a lot of good things there. They have the T right there, the airport, you know, public transit, and hopefully they come here because that would be a major score. You're talking 50,000 jobs.
That's what he meant.
I mean, that is a major, major score for Boston and Revere, and hopefully we do get it. We'll be a player. I don't know if we'll get it or not, but hopefully we do.
But exactly what kind of jobs are they talking about? I mean, what is exactly Amazon going to do when it comes, if they should come in?
Well, I mean, they do a lot of shipping. You know, you buy products, they ship them. I don't really actually know what the 50,000
You mean like
jobs-
they're on the computer?
Yeah, you just order something on the computer, Amazon, they ship it right out to you.
Oh,
It's a great thing.
and this would
The
be...
internet's a great thing.
Oh, yeah, especially if it helps the city or town. It's,
Yeah, I think that would be a big-time score, and I'm rooting for us. Hopefully it'll happen.
Right. That's pretty good. Mike, we got about 3 minutes left. Take 2 minutes and talk about anything you'd like to talk about.
Well, I mean, I've been on the school committee for 12 years. I was on the council for 4. So I have a lot of experience on what I do. I've been there. I've seen a lot. You know, my father was on it for like 20 years, so between the two of us, we did it for like 40 years, approximately. And there's nothing that you have to have in this world as experience. I mean, I know you need younger people and newer people, but you still need that experience to balance it all off in a way. And, you know, you try to help people where you can. That's our job. Help them where they can. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't, but you have to make the effort to help people. That's the #1 priority. I do what I do in my business. If I can help you, I will. And I believe it's an important factor, especially in politics, because experience, you can't pay for it. I believe it's a very, very important factor to have. And I enjoy what I do. I enjoy my colleagues. You know, we have our disagreements, but that's part of the game. And, you know, we've had a new superintendent that just came on a couple of years ago, and, you know, we're working our way around things. We're doing well, and we're just trying. We're trying to do the best we can. We can't satisfy everybody, but if we can get the majority, then we've done a good job.
I'd like to ask you this before we go off the air. If people wanted to contact you or had a question about the school committee, could they contact you?
Absolutely.
Can you give them a number to call
Yeah,
or
I
an
mean,
email?
they can call my house, 781-284-7491.
Right?
And my email is mferra7525@comcast.net, and I would get back with it within a day or two.
Right. So the name is right here on the computer, 781-284-7491.
Yeah.
Right. That would be great, Mike.
Yeah. I'm available all the time, and if they need right away, I'm right on Broadway next to the bakery, so I'm an easy guy to
Which
find.
bakery?
Liberto's. I'm right next to Liberto's.
Okay. Mike, I want to say it was an honor and a pleasure to have you come up here.
Thank you, Marcy. I appreciate it.
Let
My
me wish you
pleasure.
the best of luck to you, and God bless you.
I
Thank
appreciate
you,
it.
Mike.
Thank you.
And I want to say to the people, God bless the city of Revere, the people of Revere, our military, those that served and those that are serving, but most of all, God bless our great country, the United States of America, and thank you all for listening. Until the next time, thank you.